O'clock. The call of Barron County Board of Supervisors for Monday, May 16, 2022 into order and have roll call.
John Banks. Jerry Lee. I think he's online.
He is.
Okay. Carolyn Bartlett. Here. Pam Fall.
Here.
Bill Stradle.
Here.
Gary Taxdell.
Here.
Jim Gores.
Present.
Gary Nelson. Roberta Volantine let us know she couldn't be here today. Pete Olson.
Here.
Kathy Krug.
Here.
Carol Moen.
Here.
Fran Langman.
Here.
Louis Oki.
Here.
Patty Anderson.
Here.
Randy Cook.
Here.
Jerry McRoberts.
Here.
Art Thompson.
Present.
Bun Hanson. No Bun? Stacy Wenzel.
Here.
Big Stacy is online.
Right there.
Yep.
Dana Heller.
Here.
Bob Anderson let us know he couldn't be here today. Stan Buchanan.
Here.
Audrey Kuselik.
Here.
Bill Efforts.
Here. He's online.
Do we have no audio on there? Okay. Craig Turcott.
Here.
Dale Heineke.
Here.
Bob Rogers.
Here.
Diane Vaughn.
Here.
Okay, so at this time, we've got 27 present.
Bun is on his way.
Bun is on his way.
26 present, 2 absent, and Bun's.
Okay.
I don't know if he's online or coming here.
He said he was coming here.
Coming here?
We were at a previous meeting.
Okay, very good. IDN Cook County Clerk has complied with open meeting public notification laws. Meeting notices are posted on the electronic meeting notice board on the first and second floor of the Government Center and the main floor of the Justice Center. In addition, all 5 county newspapers have been notified. And this amended agenda was posted on May 11th at 10:38 a.m.
Okay, Pastor Paul Poppy from Chetek Baptist Church in Cameron will lead us in invocation. Chetek, excuse me.
All right, so I just want to read one of the prayers of King Solomon. Solomon, when he was dedicated as the king of Israel, he's known as one of the great kings of Israel. And I just wanted to pray or read his prayer for 3 reasons in encouraging you today as the Barron County Board. Number 1, he acknowledges and submits to the authority and the goodness of the Creator God, which a good leader needs to do. He sees himself as a servant of the Lord and of the people, and he devotes himself to making things better through God's plan of humble repentance. So I'd just like to read this prayer and then just have a short prayer at the end of that. Then Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord in the presence of all the assembly of Israel and spread out his hands toward heaven and said, O Lord God of Israel, there is no God like you in heaven above or on earth beneath, keeping covenant and showing steadfast love to your servants who walk before you with all their heart. You have kept with your servant David, my father, what you declared to him. You spoke with your mouth and with your hand have fulfilled it this day. Now therefore, O Lord God of Israel, keep for your servant David, my father, what you have promised him, saying, you shall not lack a man to sit before me on the throne of Israel. If only your sons pay close attention to their way, to walk before me as you have walked before me. Now therefore, O God of Israel, let your word be confirmed, which you have spoken to your servant David, my father. But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, heaven and the highest heaven cannot contain you. How much less this house that I have built? Yet have regard to the prayer of your servant and to his plea, O Lord my God, listening to the cry and to the prayer that your servant prays before you this day, that your eyes may be open night and day toward this house, the place of which you have said, my name shall be there, that you may listen to the prayer that your servant offers toward this place. And listen to the plea of your servant and of your people Israel when they pray toward this place. And listen in heaven, your dwelling place, and when you hear, forgive. If a man sins against his neighbor and is made to take an oath, and comes and swears his oath before your altar in this house, then hear in heaven and act and judge your servants, condemning the guilty by bringing his conduct on his own head, and vindicating the righteous by rewarding him according to his righteousness. When your people Israel are defeated before the enemy because they have sinned against you, and if they turn again to you and acknowledge your name and pray and plead with you in this house, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your people Israel and bring them again to the land that you gave to their fathers. when heaven is shut up and there is no rain, because they have sinned against you. If they pray toward this place and acknowledge your name and turn from their sin, when you afflict them, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your servants, your people Israel, when you teach them the good way in which they should walk, and grant rain upon your land, which you have given to your people as an inheritance. Let's pray. Father, I thank you for this governing body. I thank you for these public servants, and I pray a blessing on them tonight. Pray a blessing on their decision-making, on their wisdom, and on their discernment. And Lord, as we are not all-knowing, but you are, we look to you as the standard of what goodness is. We look to your character as the guide in order to understand the difference between that which is right and that which is wrong. Those that are in leadership making decisions need that moral compass in order to choose and make decisions that have an impact on all of Barron County. So I pray a blessing on those decisions tonight. And I pray, Lord, that those of us that are in leadership, that we will truly see ourselves as your servants and as servants of the people for Christ's sake, to minister, to bless, to encourage, Lord, to make things better in the decisions that we make. And then I pray also, Lord, when we see that there is an error, when we see that things are misguided or correction is needed, that the hope of repentance and reconciliation through your grace will guide that process as we make the needed corrections and get things back on the right track. Thank you, Lord, that you have demonstrated your love for us. And I pray that love that you have shown for us will be demonstrated in our relationships and in our responsibilities. I pray it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 3, special matters and announcements. Item number A, the proclamation recognizing Judge Steve Babler as Judge of the Year. And Judge Boyle, I think, has something to present him. Would you two, Judge Babler, well, anybody that's going to speak or, so the public can see you, we need to come up to the podium so the projector can grab you. Okay, Judge Bittner.
Chair Oki and the rest of the Barron County Board of Supervisors, thank you for allowing us this opportunity to recognize our friend and colleague, James Babler. I can think of no other person more deserving of this award than Judge Babler. And how fitting, Pastor, your description of a servant leader was tonight, because I think Judge Babler completely embodies all of those characteristics of a servant leader. In his humility, in his discernment, in his wisdom, and in his vision for this community and all of those persons that he serves. So we are very pleased today. Judge Bittner and I are so happy to be here and so proud to be colleagues with this gentleman. And so with that, I would like to, on behalf of Judge Bittner and myself and the County Board Chair, Mr. Oki, read this proclamation. The proclamation recognizing the Honorable Judge James C. Babler as Judge of the Year. Whereas the Honorable Judge James C. Babler has been named the State Bar of Wisconsin's Judge of the Year, and whereas Judge Babler has faithfully served the citizens of Barron County for over 39 years, serving as both District Attorney and in his current capacity as Judge for Branch 1 Circuit Court of Barron County, and whereas the Honorable Maureen D. Boyle, Judge Branch 3, and the Honorable J. M. Bittner, Judge Branch 2, nominated Judge Babler for this award, and whereas Judge Babler worked tirelessly to improve the quality of the judiciary throughout his judicial career, and he continues to do so during these difficult and challenging times. He kept the Barron County court system operating during the recent COVID crisis by being an innovator, mentor, and teacher. He helped to create innovative programs such as the Family Drug Treatment Court and the Court-Appointed Special Advocate, or CASA, program, which appoints volunteers to advocate for the best interests for children. And whereas it is fitting and proper for the Barron County Board of Supervisors to commend the Honorable Judge James C. Babler for this nomination, and whereas the drafting of this resolution has the support of County Board Chair Oki, District Attorney Brian Wright, Clerk of Court Sharon Millerman, Corporation Counsel John Minch, myself, the Honorable J.M. Bitney, Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, County Administrator Jeff French, and many, many others. Whereas the drafting of this proclamation has the support of the Barron County Board of Supervisors, now therefore be it resolved that Louis Oki, the County Board Chair, by the power vested in him by the state of Wisconsin and the Barron County Board of Supervisors, does hereby recognize the Honorable James C. Babler as being named the State Bar of Wisconsin's Judge of the Year, and be it further resolved that this board extends its deepest appreciation and respect to Judge Babler upon receiving this prestigious award, and be it further resolved that this proclamation be spread upon the permanent minutes of this body duly assembled May 16, 2022, and that copies of this proclamation be distributed as deemed appropriate and necessary by the County Clerk, Deanne Cook. Dated this 16th day of May, 2022, and signed by Louis W. Oki, the Barron County Board Chair. Judge Babler.
Thank you. If I'll just take 1 minute. Some of you were there when I was appointed judge in the old auditorium some 19 years ago, and I said that I didn't want to just be a judge. I wanted to be a judge in Barron County. And so I'm humbled by the award here, but I'm deeply honored that you here, because this is where I wanted to be judge. And so thank you very much for this proclamation.
You truly are an asset to Barron County. Your leadership has been unparalleled. When you show Dane County how it should be done. Thank you.
I got one question. I've been around here about, 15 years. I always heard that judge is a very stressful job, and I'm sure it is more so now. You don't look much different when this happens.
Genetics plays a big part of that. Thank you.
He eats lots of beans. Lots of beans. But he's not full of beans.
There you go.
Okay, Russ and Don and Eric, could you come up to the podium? Is that possible? I know you don't have a lot of room, Eric. Right. Greg, you just gotta back up just a little bit for him. Well, as you're all aware, we had 4 supervisors who didn't make it on the board this year, but we wanted to recognize them here because they've done an outstanding job. Don and Russ been here. Don's been here for 25 years or so, and Russ has been here like me about 10, and Eric, 6 or so. So, and they've all worked very hard and did a great job for our county. So I'd just like to thank you and hand you this plaque and say thank you for all 3 of you. You've done a great service to your county. And Eric, or Oscar Skog, thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Oscar Skoll cannot be here this evening, but he will also get a plaque, so. Thank you, guys. Okay, item number 3, the retirement recognition for Deanne Cook, our county clerk.
Well, it's my privilege to just say a few words about Deanne's leaving. She's only 17. She's retired. So Deanne, it's sincerely thank you for the years you put in as county clerk.
Don't look at it, Jeff, you're not gonna make it.
I'm
through.
not
I know.
gonna. Deanne served as county clerk for 17 years. She's been passionate about what she's doing. She's passionate about the election process. You're an asset to this county. You're gonna be deeply missed. This young lady does more work behind the scenes to give good advice to me. There's lots of times I'll ask something and she gives me great direction. You'll be missed. The public will never know the amount of work that she quietly and unobtrusively has done. I'd like to thank you. I wish you all the best. County we're gonna miss you. I can't go any further, sorry.
We're indebted to you, Deanne. This will be our last board meeting, too.
Now she's clapping.
Okay, item number D, memorandum, Stan Berg.
Just maybe you want to stand and have a moment of silence.
Yes.
Stan Bergen was a long-time board member, great guy to work with.
I guess we'd like to have a moment of silence for Stan. Thank you, Stan.
Could I say one little?
Sure.
Stan was my predecessor. And anyway, a couple days before he died, 2 or 3 days before he died, I talked to him. And he said, I voted for you, Jer. So I had to thank him for that.
Couple things for the board members. Your Google Sheets have all been updated, which you turn into Jess for your review. So they're updated with the committee assignments that will be approved later today. If you're looking at what the auditorium chairs are gonna look like, they're behind Mr. Horseman. That gives you an idea of what we've ordered. And except that it's gonna be in gray. So it'll be a gray to match the interior. Again, I apologize, I cannot create things and the technology is behind again. So we're delayed again on getting in there. No more I have to say. I can't create what I cannot create. Thank you.
Okay, item number 4, approve the agenda for this evening. Motion by Supervisor Olson, second by Supervisor Heller. Anybody have any concerns? Not all those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign? That motion's carried. Item number 5, approve the minutes of the April 19th, 2022 meeting. Motion by Supervisor Heineke, second by Supervisor Thompson. Anybody have any concerns? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign? Okay, that motion's carried. Public comment. Yes, we have none, okay. Number 7, update on the new highway facilities. Mark Serby, our esteemed highway commissioner, and would like to give us an update.
I think it's Steve.
Or something.
Good evening. So what Jody's got projected here right now is the last flight that we did, and I'm just gonna, if we can just hold that. So what you see here is, this is the administrative area. The crew room would be over in here, the office and the conference room and the foreman's offices and things would be in this area. This part of the building where it bumped out, below that is the parts room, and the locker rooms, oil and electrical rooms. And then above that is a mezzanine, and there's 2 rooms up in there for storage, one for mechanical and one for what's in our basement now is gonna move up to the 2nd floor. So, and then from here back is really the bulk of the mechanics area. So what you see here, as of last week, I'll just go to where we're at right now. This roof is finished. The floor inside of here is all poured. Right now, we're waiting on cure on the concrete. In the parts area, which is this general area here, the floor has been poured, it's cured, and they're starting to set the walls for the block walls for the bathrooms and the hallways and, you know, the different rooms that are in there. So then when you get out into this area, area was relatively wet this spring from all of the rain, and that soil was a little poorer. So we're kind of waiting for that to dry out. We hope in the next week that, this is the name of the company, Skid Steer Guy, okay? That he'll get in there and be able to put the subgrade in, and then we can start putting the trench drains in and the oil and lube systems. This roof now, as they're working on, this is all deck, this is all steel decking on here. You can see the people up on the roof here. They're starting to put this same roofing membrane down. So what the roof is it's a steel tin roof, and then there's 2 layers of styrofoam over the top of that that's screwed down into the steel decking, and then it's a rubber membrane that's put over the top of that. There's no stone on this membrane. You can't push a screwdriver through this membrane. It's 65 mil thick. It's got a 20-year expected life, which is an industry leading roof for rubber membranes now. So that's what's going to go over the whole thing. You can see right in here, they've set the joists now. There's a column line that runs down here, so you have joists that run this way and you have joists that run this way. Actually, today they're down to about here. They hope that they'll have the joists all set in that area sometime next week. In about 3 weeks, we're going to have this closed off, and then it's the same at the other end, that those panels are missing. And that's so that they can get the joists in, and also that the crane can get in and out. So this area will be, they'll be putting steel decking on starting next week. The unheated storage 2 is back here. Those footings are now dug and they're starting to form those footings. We cleaned this field out now because the city of Barron is starting their project. That's where they're gonna have their new public works facility over there. So we were using that for storage for the winter. Now we're getting out of there. On the other side of the road, I don't know if we have a flight that shows the other side of the road, Jody. You can see here, there's the joists, the roof, so. Turn it around. Okay, right there. So this is the wash bay. We're hoping that we're gonna be able to take possession of a working wash bay by the end of June. We have to schedule Hydrochem, which is the wash bay equipment provider. They have to come in and do a few modifications to their system, and then they have to do a startup on it. And this is the unheated storage 1. That building is substantially complete. There's 1 vent to put through the roof that we're gonna get cut in the next couple of weeks and get that taken care of. And that unheated 1 is where the vehicle storage would go from the government center, and the ADRC vehicles would move over there. However, right now, because there's no good storage space on the site, we're using that for storage, secure storage for things like the electrical components and things that are built up for the HVAC, the garage doors for the other side. I mean, that's basically a storage building right now. And it'll be that way until we get the material out of there, and then that'll get turned over to us also. So, and then the salt shed, we've got the brine room footings are poured, and we've got to put the sonotubes in, which are column bases, and then they can put the columns up, and then we can put the roof on, get that roof system on for that lean-to. So the project is coming along. We'll be in it sometime this fall. I'm hoping maybe by August we'll have mechanics moved, and then that would allow us to demo the old building. You know, after we get those 2 areas, the precast set that I was talking about to close the heated storage facility off, the only precast that would be left to be set is the bump out in the front of the building where the IT room is going. We're bringing the IT room main equipment down from the Justice Center down to this room, and it's to this building, and it's gonna have its own dedicated area, secure. And one of the bigger issues that we have at the Justice Center is there are water lines actually running over the top of the computer equipment. So Mark wanted to get that out of there, and this was a good solution for us. Plus they have, Jeff will talk about that later, we have new equipment coming for that also. So, any questions?
As indicated in your packet on page 13, there's got shows the financial numbers so far. Jeff indicated in the memo that IT is able to purchase the stuff for our IT, and then he got it at a substantial discount. We did amend the agenda to update on the awarding the county STP project. What was on there?
So late last summer, we came to the board and we talked about the potential for additional federal funding for county road construction. And we asked the board to fund 2 design projects for us, so that what we would develop is what's called shelf-ready plans. So that when money comes, we can just go, hey, we got a set of plans here, can you fund us? We put that, the 1st of March, there was a due date for applications. We applied for funding for the County Trunk Highway P project. Last Wednesday, I received I'm gonna call it tentative notification that we were receiving funding for the County Trunk Highway P project. So thanks to the board's foresight, we're gonna have that project in construction, it looks like next year. We've been going back and forth with DOT a little bit on some of the particulars. It's turned my hair just a little bit grayer. I was on a conference call on Friday, as Jeff knows. I was at Black River Falls in my friend's turkey blind hunting turkeys, and I was on a 45-minute phone call during turkey hunting with the windows open. So I don't know why I didn't see any birds. But we needed to take care of that. So we'll know more Wednesday, but it looks like we're going to have a positive result for the investment that the county board made in the short term. The other one is the County Trunk Highway U project that we've got under design. That one, we're going to be putting in funding application the end of May, and that would be for funding for 2024 for construction. So hopefully we're going to have P in 23 and a shot at U in 24. So that.
And Mark, mentioned foresight of the county board, but it's really his foresight coming up with the recommendations, working with Jody, working with Jeff, get it done. So when they present it to us, we have something real to look at, and we understand what he's telling us. And now it's come to fruition because we had these plans ready. When the state has the money, people that are ready get the money. So.
And that's what we're hoping for. That's what we came to the board for, and the board made the decision to support that. And hopefully we're going to see the results now. So that's all I got.
Any questions for Mark? Thank you. Item number 8, resolution authorizing the Barron County Housing Authority to apply for a 4% Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority low-income housing tax credit application and Federal Home Loan Bank Affordable Housing Grant application and the HUD Home Program Grant application and any other applicable grants. Can I get a motion to approve that? Motion by Supervisor McRoberts, seconded by Supervisor Nelson. What's happened here is Jeff did a good job in your memo on item number 8 explaining that we were not awarded the 4% federal on 4% state tax application. It's not any fault of Tom Landgraf. He did a great job with that. We thought with the county putting in the $3.5 million ARPA funds, we would get that application. But as happens in government, they change the rules in the middle of the game, and so our big advantage of putting the ARPA money in was diminished against our competition. So the bottom line is we were not awarded that grant. So we now, this resolution, all it's really doing is saying, hey, let's go after anything we can get, any applications. Mr. Landgraf feels comfortable, and by the way, he's putting a lot of time on this, so he's got to feel real comfortable to go forward on this. And we're gonna basically, as I think Jeff said in one of his things he sent out to you, we're getting 4.2 million less of tax credits from the investors. So that has to be replaced somehow. And that, what it could do is we could have a $3 million first mortgage on that property. It would be something we didn't want to do initially. Jeff said we don't want foreclosable debt. Well, we're at that point. As Jeff succinctly put in his memo, you got three choices. You do nothing and let the existing apartments slowly become obsolete. You apply for whatever grants are available, or you borrow funds in the name of the county, increase the debt levy. I don't like A or C. All we're getting by passing this resolution is we're saying, let's go forward with some more applications and see what we can do. And keep in mind that it is our housing authority that is borrowing the money and putting the first mortgage on our apartments. But as anything else, if that would ultimately fall through, the county could be in there. But they've got 40, 50 years history of running a good show. And I think Tom Landgraf has done an excellent job. Another handout, their email that Jeff sent you detailing all this stuff. Actually, Meg Skimp and Tom and Jeff and Gary and I were on a conference call last Friday going over all this. And I think that Tom's got a good plan going forward. So that's kind of where we're at, and Tom's on the line here if anybody has any questions for him. Gary?
That borrowing, against the county borrowing the money, that's outside of the tax. The
levy.
The levy.
And it's actually gonna be again, that'll be the housing authority borrowing the money. The only debt we have now is for the highway shop. And Ellers is, we've told them that, and if we get down to the end of this, when we feel pretty comfortable about where we're at with the final numbers, Jeff will talk with Ellers and get their opinion on this situation so that we know we're on sound financial footing, that, we're not gonna borrow this money and mess up our credit rating or any future endeavors we seek to do. Supervisor Roberts? Right.
What kind of sources would we be looking to for that funding? Are we talking state funds?
WHEDA is where we're gonna try to go because they're the least likely to foreclose.
Okay.
Any other questions for any of us or Tom?
What would be our chances of getting any of that?
Well, Tom, I asked him that same question on Friday and he said pretty good because he spent a lot of time on this and he's not getting paid. So he would like to see this deal go through. Tom, do you have any? I don't want to put you on the spot for a percentage, but how do you feel about our application? I think you can maybe mention that the other one was competitive and this one is not. Uh-oh.
His microphone.
Your microphone is off.
Yep. All right. Thank you. The 4% federal credit that we would be applying for is what's referred to as the non-competitive credit. It doesn't have as much horsepower as the credits that we applied for earlier, but it's a piece of the action, and as long as we have the requisite score, if there was a problem with the application, WHEDA would have probably rejected it or put it on hold the first time through. It just ended up being that when all of the applications that came in were scored and WHEDA looked at how many credits they had available, the cutoff was above where our score was. So it didn't appear there was anything wrong with the application. So I'm feeling pretty good. We should we should be able to get the non-competitive piece.
Any further questions? Okay, thanks, Tom. All right. Oh, so Pete?
Just curious if there's any advantage of waiting another year with the funds being
Yeah, the
available.
advantage is the costs will go up and more people will apply. There's this, and, you know, we've got apartments that are not as marketable as the new ones that are going up even in the city of Barron right now, so are coming through. So it's no advantage to wait. Any further questions? Okay, if now we got a
Is there any deadline we have to meet for the second
yes,
approach?
June 10th. That's why it's here.
That's why it's here.
Any further questions? Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor to pass this resolution. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, item number 9, resolution, withdraw from the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Barron, Rusk, and Washburn Counties intergovernmental agreement. Can I get a motion to approve that? Motion by Supervisor Bartlett, second by Supervisor Banks. On that, you know, we've been vetted by Health and Human Services, by the Executive Committee. You know, there's another companion resolution, and effectively what we're doing is Washburn is not going to be part of our group anymore if we pass these two, and there's just political and basically they don't, the thinking isn't the same, and it's causing problems with our employees. So, anybody have any questions on that? If not, all those in favor of passing that resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, it's passed. Item number 10, the resolution to create the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Barron and Rusk counties. Again, theirs were Barron and Rusk think alike. They work well together. This would all be effective January 1st of next year, 2023. So the state requires 6 months notification of dissolving the other one. And so that's why we're here today, because we need 6 months, and then we'll work with them until the end of the year, and then we'll have just the 2 county.
Who is the motion to approve in second?
Thompson.
Yes. Okay.
Carolyn,
Okay, that's good. All right, and there was one on 10.
But we don't have one.
We don't want to have one on 10.
We just did 10. On 10 it was Carolyn and Gary, or John.
That was 9.
No, that was 10. We already did 9. Somebody didn't. Who voted? Didn't somebody pass number 9?
We voted for 9, but we haven't voted.
We haven't
We don't
got
have 10.
it.
a motion
I
on
don't?
10.
No, I have a motion.
I thought I had it on, I did for 9 ahead of time. Okay, I'm losing it. All right.
No, you did for 9, you didn't for 10.
All right.
I will do for
So
10.
9's done. Okay, Supervisor Cook makes a motion to pass resolution number 10, seconded by Supervisor Hanson. Okay, now you got me straightened out.
Now
Is there any
we're good.
questions on that?
Budgetary constraints and challenges with the consortium. Briefly. can you-
$27,000 is gonna cost us the 27,000 to switch over.
Yeah.
And we feel confident that our department heads will get that figured out. There's different ways that things that they think we're not maybe getting all the goods we could get, the way we are now, but maybe we'll get, make them up the other way.
We've asked Heidi to sharpen her pencil on the Medicare, Medicaid reimbursement and try to cut into that 27,000. We've been at this a long time, and I support Jen's wanting to do this. It really has, Louis really characterized this well. The time has come.
Supervisor
You know,
Martin?
and I think they've set it up, the meeting was, I would say, a little bit tense, the last meeting, to say the least, but, it certainly is the right thing to do, and I think that, they certainly left the door open, that if the philosophies change in management, in their leadership to be the same as Barron County, and Rusk County, there certainly is an opportunity to look back and come together again. So the door was kind of left open, But there was nobody that jumped up at the meeting and said, oh, our philosophies will change, or we want to continue this, so.
The Washburn County Board, I would probably like to keep it as is, but management at Washburn County did not say anything like, well, we want to stay with it.
But county board felt a little bit surprised, I felt, in the
Should be.
meeting, and maybe they weren't, but that was what I took from the meeting, but the door was, is certainly left open to partner again, if in fact, the county board wants to go after it and change something, and or leadership decides to change, so.
Jen will certainly alert us to that fact. Any further questions?
So notifications for 6 months in advance that we're gonna change.
Yes.
So this could reverse within 6 months if something to change or what.
It could, in theory, I suppose, but I don't see that happening.
I'd be surprised, but, yeah.
Been surprised before.
We've been surprised
You can
before.
be, yeah. Any further questions? Okay, if not, I have a motion and a second on the resolution on item number 10 to create the new group with Barron and Russ County. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Yeah, motion's carried. Okay, item number 11, resolution requesting the elimination of the Badger Care eligibility cliff. We did pass this can I get a motion by Supervisor Gore, seconded by Supervisor Stradle to pass this resolution. We did pass this last year, sent it on to WCA. They have the Wisconsin Counties Association that has a resolutions committee who then looks at it, possibly pushes it on to another steering committee. That steering committee recommends it pushes up to the WCA board. That'll be in the annual meeting in September. Now, that didn't make it last year. I asked the people, our lobbyists at WCA, why didn't that come up? Because what it boils down to is, just use a number. If you're on Badger Care and you make 13,000, just don't hold me to the number, 13,000 or less, you get Badger Care. It's very good insurance. If you make $13,001, you're off. So people manage their finances to not go over that cliff. Okay, it just seems like common sense. Hey, if you make more money, kick a little bit in toward your insurance, And WCA agrees with that. I asked them why if it seems it's a slam dunk, why isn't it done? There's something to do with how the state and the federal laws mesh together. So there's been several other counties that have passed a resolution similar to ours. And so we want to pass this again so we can put mounting pressure on our legislature to fix the problem.
So what it amounts to is even though we passed this there, it's not necessarily going to be going away yet.
Yeah, no, it's got, the legislature has to decide that, not us. All we're doing here is recommending to our WCA lobbyists to go forward with something like this.
So there's nothing we can do in Barron County to make this happen this year?
No. Be nice if we could, but we can't. Like so much, we're an arm of the state, and they got us a lot of times. Any further questions on that? Okay, if not, all those in favor of passing that resolution, requesting that we eliminate the Badger Care eligibility cliff, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And motion's carried. Okay, item number 12, August County Board meeting date and location. It's because of me, I've been elected to the Wisconsin Counties Association Board of Directors, and that's the reason for this one.
You're going to be for the insurance company.
Okay, this one's I'm also on the Wisconsin County Mutual Insurance Company Board of Directors, and they have a meeting on August 15th. So I'd like to go to the 22nd, unless you want to put pressure on Carolyn to take over a meeting right away. Or Bun. So I guess we need a motion. If you agree with me, I'd like to switch it from August 15th to August 22. Somebody make it 7 p.m. in this room. We will not be going. In years past, we've gone to the campus, but with everything going on, the technology, it's kind of hard for to take the technology up there and the auditorium itself, we just thought we'd just keep it here, room 110.
I'll move.
Motion by Supervisor Buchanan, seconded by Supervisor Olson. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor of changing that date from August 15th to August 22nd at 7 PM, room 110, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, passed. Thank you. Item number 13, operation of ATVs and UTVs. I'm gonna try to summarize this, both A and B, they're two separate things. And what's happened, initially I thought this went to law enforcement, then it was gonna go to highway. If one of those committees said we wanna open up county roads, then we bring it to the full board. So what's happened is we've got, Jeff had, as part of our packet here, this has been worked with Sheriff Fitzgerald and our Highway Commissioner Serby and both committees to come up with that sample ordinance that's in your packet. Now, the the law enforcement committee met, they passed that resolution. That resolution would just attach to our existing ordinance. Right now, our existing ordinance allows for connectivity. We open county roads if we need to, make so you can connect from one area of the county or another county to the other. We do not open them just so they can drive from their house and for basically other reasons. So it was just for connectivity. The highway, that's been their policy forever, and there was been a request that we open all all highway roads, UTVs, ATVs. So we really got, so again, the law enforcement passed that ordinance to change, attach to our existing ordinance, but they did not, no one made a motion to open our roads, ATVs. So basically that failed at law enforcement. And then went to highway. Highway did the same thing with that sample ordinance. They passed that and said we should amend that and add it to our existing ordinance. And somebody may ask, well, if highway and law enforcement both passed it, they want to change our existing one, why isn't it on the agenda today? Because we're going to try to do them all together. So that one will be coming probably next month. So now then, highway, as far as changing, opening up all the roads, they did not make a motion, but what they came up with an idea, hey, instead of, just keeping it like it is with connectivity or opening all roads, there's some roads that they feel shouldn't be open due to safety concerns. And Chris, have you and Mark, has that been ferreted out between the two of you yet?
Jeff and Mark are working on that as we speak.
Okay, Jeff Wolf and Mark Serby are working on it. So basically there's three alternatives. Keep it like it is, just for connectivity. 2, open all roads. 3, open the county roads except for roads they deem should not be open due to safety. And that, it appears that's the road we're going down. So we need to that'll come to the highway committee, I think June 2nd.
Yes, Mark says yes.
Okay. So that's where we're at.
Are some counties opening everything?
Yes. Some don't, some, I think a lot of them are doing what we're proposing to do. Let's open our roads, but not everyone. They see it as, it's economic development. It's, most of the people that are driving those ATV, UTVs are responsible individuals, and they're spending quite a bit of money to pay for those things. So it's, and I really got to thank our ATV clubs, because, they could be filling up this room, our law enforcement room, our highway room. They're speaking to Jeff Wolf, and he is our rec officer, and he is expressing their concerns, and that's why we've got to the point we're at now.
So these are the proposed changes. Where's the current ordinance, so we can compare?
We didn't have one. Yeah, we did.
Well, we got one.
The current ordinance would be what you approved at the last meeting. So we added 8 routes to that ordinance, okay? That's all the verbiage that's in that ordinance.
That's it, that's all.
That's it. So in preparation for potentially opening up a vast majority of the county roads to ATVs and UTVs, the two committees have ferreted this out as basically the operating rules that would be on the county highway system. To be clear, that's not the town roads, it's the county highway system. Or the state roads. The state does not open their roads to ATVs and UTVs.
Prior to last month, there was just no ordinance.
Yeah, there is an ordinance, but the verbiage is very limited.
And there was a couple questions, Mr. Taxel asked me a couple questions, and I just did verify with Mark and Jeff Wolf, a short time ago. Letter O is a state requirement, which would be, you have to have ATV certificate to ride if you were born after 1988. Mr. Taxel, I agree, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what the state statute says when it comes to ATV safety. And item T and U talks about alcoholic beverages and nitrous oxide. Mark and I just confirmed that is what the state statute says. I don't think we have a lot of people drinking nitrous oxide in Howard County, but.
Is that laughing gas or what is
Yeah,
that?
that's, but it is illegal and it is a substance that people have used, and I assume at one point in the state passed that law. I just confirmed with Mark, we did copy that word for state statute, so I agree again, Mr. Taxel.
Maybe it was a group of dentists that had.
The other reason that we're bringing this to you is to give you a look at it, is we had intended to possibly bring that to you tonight for a vote. And meeting late last week with John and Jeff, John wanted some opportunity to go through this and compare what we're doing to the state statutes to make sure that everything's copacetic. We think that it is. That's John's job to figure that out, and he needed some time to do it. So that's why we thought we'd bring this to you as a draft document, so if you have any questions, we can start the conversation now, and then at the next meeting, you'll see this, and you'll see what comes out of the highway committee as far as if they're gonna approve opening. Some roads all go through, just keep it the way it is for connectivity, that's what you will see. Then the board will get also.
Yeah, we're doing some research on it. Quite honestly, what we're concerned about is that this relies on the state statute for its authority that talks about ATVs and UTVs. And that's one of the statutes that says that you can pass a local ordinance that's in strict conformity with the provisions of that section, 23.3. So what I'm researching right now is what level of strict conformity, because there's some things in this proposed ordinance that are more strict than state statute. And so I want to make sure we've got the authority to put some of that language in there that the state statute doesn't have. And specifically, it's going to relate to open containers. It's going to relate to requiring people to have a driver's license. It's going to relate to, there's 3 areas. Insurance. That you require to have liability insurance.
Right now, they don't, the OWI for motor vehicles does not mesh with the ATV rules.
Yeah, well, right now, you can have an open toxic, and I could be driving my UTV down a lawfully open road, and Chris could be going the other way, and I could lean out and shake my beer and take a drink of the beer, there's nothing.
But if I did, if I parked it in his car, I could stop.
Then you can stop.
We just wanted, most of the cities, every municipality in Green County is open, have similar rules to this. And again, we just want to make sure John's on board with this, because he's the one that has to like these. We issue the same.
And if we get that, and that we're going to the towns, so we have to try to get uniformity.
We're gonna
throughout
share
Bear
this
County.
with all the townships.
Actually, I'm meeting with the towns next week on Monday at the unit meeting, and I'm gonna share this with them as a potential of what's coming. As a sidebar, when we looked at putting these all together, almost every one of these is taken from other counties. So they've passed it, whether they've gone through the legal, I don't know that, but.
Well, and I've reviewed a lot of other counties, and some of them have bits and pieces of this, some of them have, but what it appears is that you took
I tried
from all of them.
been plagiarized. Yeah, Supervisor Cook?
Yeah, Lou, you mentioned, the clubs being involved. Are they involved in putting together these?
No. We did that, this is strictly a safety standpoint, for the clubs. Now, Jeff discusses these kind of things with the club. I know of no pushback from the clubs on any of this. I assume, we're not gonna ask people if they wanna drink an alcoholic beverage in their car. We don't ask that kind of question, but, I don't know of any pushback that Jeff Wolf has gotten. They're in support, obviously, of opening the roads. I think our new plan will work. I think we'll get there, so.
Supervisor Kusla?
So will you work with the county? So if we have a county road that touches Russ County, that if that road is open on the other side, ours will be open, so we don't have people getting a county line and running into.
Open theirs on Highway D and ours.
But
that's not necessarily the case, because I think when you go south to Dunn and Chippewa, not all of their roads are open, so there's a possibility that our road system, the law requires then at that point where you come into the county, you have a sign that says, something along the lines of, all Barron County highways open except as noted if we have some that are closed. And then when you're going the other way, there's an end trail sign, which does a really good job stopping people.
I'm sure it does.
You're on tape,
I'm stating a fact.
Supervisor Taxel?
Well, on the township roads, they have speed limit signs that says 35 miles an hour, but when you're going past a residence, you're supposed to slow to 10 miles an hour. That's not even realistic.
Yeah. Well, and up until last fall, the speed limit signs that the towns have posted were not enforceable, because there was no mechanism for the town or county to lower the speed limit for a specific vehicle. They did pass legislation last session that finally made that those 35 and 45 mile an hour signs that you see in the township stuff is legal.
But what about the 10 miles an hour when you're going past a residence?
I don't know.
I think what the statute says on that, it says 35 miles an hour, and it's 10 miles an hour if you're within 150 feet of a residence. I don't think that applies if the route is on a roadway. I think there's an exception.
That they posted on the roadways.
Be posted wrong. I mean, we don't enforce township ordinances, and that's the other problem too.
Okay.
If we could get this and make it, we're catching up.
Uniform.
ATV usage and UTV usage has exploded, and the state of Wisconsin is behind. Mark and I have pushed for years for the OWI laws to be the same, both in a car and a UTV. Because right now I can have 2 OWIs in my car and I can drive my ATV all over legally. And so we've got to play catch up a little bit. The state of Wisconsin does and counties do. And that's why you're seeing it change on a monthly basis at different counties across the state.
Supervisor Rogers?
The one thing I'd like to see us avoid is do nothing approach to it. This is one of these things where I'm actually getting contacts from folks in my area, and they want something done on this, and whether it's up or down is to be discussed. But a do-nothing approach, no one's gonna be happy with that.
I don't think
It's coming to the board, hopefully next month.
Yeah.
I've said, and I'll say it again for this body. There's a lot of questions about whether this is a good use of the county highway system. Is it safe? Is it appropriate? We can have all those discussions. Okay? We can provide data. Ultimately, all the data that we provide isn't going to make a difference. This is going to be a political decision. This is going to be your constituents telling you this is what we want or this is what we don't want. And that's what you're here.
Supervisor Anderson?
Are there any restrictions on hours? Like, do you have to be home by dark or anything like that?
We tried that, but we cut that out.
We took that off just from an enforceable standpoint. It's very difficult to enforce it. Mark had it in his version. I took it out. Ultimately, we sided with me because of the ability to enforce it was just too difficult. What is a half hour before sunset? Things like that. So that it's discussing and you can add or subtract it. You know, Mark and I just gave you a template and you can add or subtract this all you want.
Does it have lights on? I
Yeah,
don't.
they have, there's lights.
That's
and-
not-
And signal, or not signals, but
They
brake
don't have,
lights.
they don't have signals, they have brake lights and headlights. One of the things in talking with Deputy Wolf that kind of made me feel a little more comfortable about operating after hours is that in his experiences and opinion, most, not all, most people have these put away by then. I mean, they wanna be home, they don't wanna be out on the roads after that night. They, you know, especially when you're talking, if you go out at, you know, 10 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna ride till 9 o'clock at night or 9:30 at night, you know, you pretty much have that. And Dana, with your business, would you echo that? Would you say that there is a lot of riding?
I was just mentioning, almost no one drives it after dark. Some of them keep them overnight.
Yeah.
But they're required to be back by usually 5 o'clock. So there's almost no one. And nobody that I hear of drives it at night anyhow.
Just my neighbor.
Yeah. That's just, we're around here a lot.
So hopefully, this was an update, and next, hopefully our next board meeting will have some concrete things for you to vote on. Two things, that amending the rules there, and also what we're gonna do. Item number 14, American Rescue, the ARPA expenditures and rule changes. Jody did a nice job showing what ARPA funds we have expended so far, and also a narrative of how it's transpired. Does anybody have any questions for Jody? Okay. Item number 15, report from our county administrator.
First quarter financials will be
That'd be Jody.
Okay, we're gonna take a look at first quarter financials. It might be easier for you to just look on your laptops in the packet, because this is kind of coming off as pretty small. So, let's see what Lance can do. Okay, that's a little bit better. Thanks, Lance. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna take a look at revenues. Revenues, now, for the new board members, we do these quarterly. Typically, it's first quarter and third quarter, because second quarter, we're kind of getting into budget. And then at the end of the year, once the audited financials come out, then I'll do a presentation on that, so you'll be able to see the whole year. Basically, what we do is we have revenues and expenditures that are broken down by function, and that's set by state statutes. And with that, the reason why that we have quarterly financials is basically to get them in the minutes, and also to give you an idea of just how things are sitting. But by having them in the minutes, it helps with grant eligibility, and it also helps if we're going out for new bonding or a new bond rating. They will ask if these are presented, and so that's why we want to make sure that we get them in the minutes. So any of these people know that, that you are informed. So first of all, looking at revenues. Revenues are up in 2022 for the first 3 months of the year by $1,055,921. That is a 12.72% increase. Breaking this down, taxes and transfer fees had an increase of about 117,000. A lot of that was for sales tax that has increased this year from last year at the same time frame. Intergovernmental revenues are up by about $538,000. That's broken down or because of a few things. Timing of land services grants that come in, DHHS, the Comprehensive Community Services reimbursement timing of about $389,000. Last year, that money didn't come in as quickly as it did this year. And then also highway general transportation revenues also made up part of this. Licensing and permits, fines, forfeitures, and penalties, really consistent with last year. Public charges for services, this was actually a decrease this year, and it was mostly in the waste to energy because the first quarter of the year, they did some major repairs, and so the turbine generator was down, and that's what produces the electricity. And so we had a decrease, and this is mostly made up of decrease in electrical sales and also some steam sales. And then tipping fees were also, that revenue was also down a little bit first quarter. Intergovernmental charges for services. That was basically highway rentals, and it was due to winter maintenance. So when we have storms, the highway department will sell salt, sand, things like that to the municipalities. And so then they will pay us, and then also we have highway rentals for our equipment. So basically, each equipment has a certain rate, and so we end up paying ourselves. We have cost pools, and so we the revenue that comes in for these rentals, miscellaneous revenue, is just that higher rate of the pieces of equipment that were being used that first quarter. And you'll notice too, it just seems like anytime that there's a winter event, it seems like it's either always after hours or on the weekends. So, we always see that, increase a little bit. And this year was with the ice storms, it was not good. So we're seeing increase for the intergovernmental charges for services of about 243,000, miscellaneous revenues, 248,000. Part of that also was just the health insurance increases that, so the departments, they pay the health insurance fund for the health insurance claims. Other financing sources, this is just about $7,000 decrease from last year. This is community development block grant activity, and so there just really wasn't any this first quarter. Any question on the revenues? If not, we'll move forward to expenditures. And you can see expenditures took a big jump this year of about over 3.1 million, which is almost a 19% increase from 2021. That can easily be explained because of the highway shop. And so we'll be seeing that here in a little bit. So general government, that had an increase of about 459,000, and there's just a slew of reasons. There's COLAs, there were increases in health insurance claims, recruitment costs were up, election costs were up, IT support agreements, property insurance. Remember that we had things reappraised, and so we had increases in the property insurance premiums. And street, school utilities now, last year those were not budgeted, where this year now we have those. And so all of that made up this increase of the 459,000. Public safety, this is mostly the sheriff's department, and they actually had a decrease of about just under 25,000. That was because in 2021 they purchased a transport squad vehicle, which they didn't have that cost this year. Public works, increase in expenditures of about 540,000. Again, that's winter, but then also those fuel costs too. Health and Human Services, they were up about 187,000. Part of that is COLAs, but mainly it's due to an increase in mental health costs due to crisis, and then some institutional costs for some of our patients. Culture, recreation, and education up about 115,000. That was an increase in those library apportionments that go, or appropriations that go out the first quarter each year. And then also timing of just some snow and ATV grant expenses. Conservation and development had an increase of about 184,000. That were those waste to energy repair projects out there. And then capital outlay, here's where the big cost is, and that's the highway facility costs of about a little over 2.6 million. Debt service, we actually had a decrease this year because last year we did that Justice Center refinancing, And so we had borrowed and paid off the Justice Center bonds, and then we had those refinanced to pay over 2 years. And so there's just that fluctuation for the debt payments. The other thing is with that refinancing, the payments were moved up to March where they used to be in May and December of each year. So that makes up the expenditures. Is there any questions with those? Then we're gonna put it all together, and I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty ugly, as it always does first quarter, because our total revenues are under 9.4 million, but yet our expenditures are, just under 20 million. So we're upside down by over $10 million. And so this is where our fund balance comes in. And so the general fund has just under $10 million of fund balance. And where this comes from is, each year as the books are closed, if there's excess revenues, in comparison to expenditures, we have that net gain. And it's really important that we keep that fund balance high, because the first and second quarters, when we have so much of the revenue that's delayed from the state and doesn't come in till July, we need to have money to be able to pay all of the bills that we're incurring now. So if you take our fund balance less the deficit, but we do need to add back in that highway construction expenses, because we have the bond money for that covered those. And so then you see that we did have just under $2 million extra, but this $10 million, that's about 53% of expenditure, I lost my thought. I'm sorry. The 9.9 million, it represents the amount of cash that we need to cover our expenditures. And so, but yeah, 53% is of the total expenditures. That's where we're at. So, any questions with that?
Okay, management, discussion and analysis, you put that in the packet too.
Yep,
Did a great job with that.
okay.
Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, item number C is Jeff.
Yep, just to Supervisor Bartlett, Supervisor Olson asked what the special prosecutor, just so we understand, the state of Wisconsin pays 100% of the cost when the assistant district attorney was called up to active federal duty. The federal government pushes that cost off from the federal government down to the state government. So they're paying 100% of the assistant district attorney who was called up into active military. So when they came to us and they said, we'll split this bill 50-50 with you, they essentially are paying more money out of their pocket. So when we agreed to do this, it was really a cost share. They weren't getting by with anything. So they just wanted to confirm that with the board, that that's how it works. So, and this is a good thing we got worked out. Brian's looking at hiring somebody probably by the end of the week into that position. So it makes it down to just himself and one other person working there. So pretty hectic. Item 15D, the WC annual resolutions. The only one that's passed by this board was the one on the Badger Care Cliff, and we'll submit that. I'll submit that by the end of the week for them. Item 15E, the updated fixed asset policy is approved by the executive committee on recommendation from our external auditors and Jody. So that was approved, and we'll go from there. So that's all I have for updates. That's all I have.
Okay, item number 16, appointments, reorganizational appointments, included in your packet, item pages 44, 45, and 46. And Jeff did a good job of explaining how that, basically how it came about and what the things, committees that people received. I need a motion to approve those assignments. Motion by Supervisor Olson, second by Supervisor Buchanan. Does anybody have any concerns about the appointments to the boards or commissions? If not,
Well, we better approve this because I see on our website, it's locked in already there. No, that's cool.
Okay, all right, all those in favor of the appointments as detailed, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that's passed. Item number 17, claims, petitions, and correspondence. John? Good, none. 18, suggestions for future agenda items. Jeff added in the packet indicating what we're gonna do, except note that August 15th now is August 22nd.
And not at UWBC. We won't, we'll
Yeah,
put off
yeah,
probably
that-
September to walk around, it'll be cooler.
Okay.
It's a lot to walk up there in September, in the heat of August.
In August, okay. Okay, item number 19, health plan insurance data. Are we going?
Yep, Tim is here, we'll do it in open session, we'll project what's in the packet, and then we'll go into closed session and get into that HIPAA stuff.
Okay.
Before Tim gets up here, one thing I did in my update, the MD&A that's in your packet, this is the second most important piece of financial data that the county produces. Number one is, let's call it the third. Number one is the budget, number two is the audit, number three is the MD&A. This is a concise recapture of all the pertinent financial information prepared by Jody. There's strict conformity that goes in here and who prepares it. So it's a very, very important document that summarizes financially where the county's at. So thank you, Tim, you're up.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'm Tim Deaton. I'm a consultant with the Horton Group, and I work with Jeff and Rachel on the health insurance. And I'm here to go through the packet that I put together for the executive committee a couple weeks ago. And Jeff asked that I come back and do it to the whole board of supervisors. So the agenda for tonight is we're going to have a bunch of pages that we put together on the health plan. The first page is going to be an historical look at the health plan cost over the last 6 years. The second page will be a 2021 loss ratio report, and then followed by the 2022 year-to-date loss ratio report. And then lastly, we're going to finish up with a stop loss level impact analysis. We're currently at 50,000. We brought forward just an analysis of what it would look like if we moved that up to 75 and or 100,000. And then lastly is some prescription drug programs that we're seeing in the industry that I did a savings analysis for based upon the county's utilization and just brought that forward for discussion. So no decisions need to be made tonight. This is just kind of bringing everybody up to speed, giving you kind of a look back at last year, historical look back over the previous years, and then kind of a state of the union where we're at today, and just some items that we'll be looking at, throughout 2022 for 2023. First page is a historical look back at the health plan cost. And on top, you're going to see that we've got the fully insured health plan total cost, and that dates back to 2016. And when we're fully insured, we have a set rate of single and family rate for the whole year. So basically, you're locked into those rates. So for 2016, 17, 18, and 19, our loss ratio was anywhere between 73% and 92% or 97%. So we were running over what we consider a desirable loss ratio. Insurance companies like to see the client, or at least the loss ratio for the customer, in that 80% range. So we were running a fever on a couple of years. This board decided to go self-funded back in 2020. And when we look at some of the things, and again, some of the high indicators, on top, we're looking at average enrollment, we're looking at number of high-cost claimants, we're looking at the number of claims, and then the carrier premium, which is our outlay of cash. Below, when we're self-funded, we pay fixed fees, which is administration for our third-party administrator, and stop-loss coverage for large claims. Everything else is variable. So we'll have ebbs and flows based upon monthly claims of medical and RX claims. So we've got the average enrollment on the top. We've got the premium equivalent. So this is the budget that we set for those years. And then below that, we've got just a number of high-cost claimants. And those are over 50,000 in annual paid claims. Below that, we've got the administrative and network fees. So that's our third-party administrator fees. And then we pay Anthem a PPO access fee for the preferred provider option. Below that, one of our largest expenditures outside of claims is stop-loss premiums. And you can see we had about $1.2 million in 2020, and that jumped up to 1.3 million for 21. And I think it jumped up again for this year, Jeff. I don't know the actual renewal number, but I know this past year was a very challenging time for the stop loss. As you can see, we had, 15 claimants over 50,000. And then when we look down at the reimbursements, we have 559,020. We have $1.2 million in 2021. So we had some reimbursements on large claims. All in all, if you look at the net total spend, so that would be fixed fees, admin and network fees, stop loss premium, medical claims, and then you net out reimbursements, we're at 4 million, 4.9 million, and then 1.2 year to date. And I always like to go back and look at where we were on a carrier premium on the top chart. So we went over that $5 million mark in 2018. So it's kind of like we turned the clock back 2 or 3 years by going self-funded. And I know that Jeff is a good steward of the fund, and our goal is to really build that fund as a rainy day, because claims ebb and flow. And when you have claims that cycle, sometimes you want to have a place where you can dip into, so you don't have to make drastic plan design changes. Any questions on that? All right. Apologize for the small print. Hopefully you guys can enlarge it in the screen, but this is our loss ratio report. And I like this report. It is kind of busy, but it has a lot of good information on it. I'm going to start in the left-hand corner. This is our loss report for plan year 2021. So that's January 1st through December 31st of 2021. And in the report parameters, we've got our medical administrator, which we have Anthem and PBA. We've got our prescription drug administrator, IngenioRx. Our reinsurance carrier in 2021 was Anthem. The stop loss deductible was at 50,000, and our stop loss contract was at 12/18, meaning we had claims that were incurred in 12 and then paid in 18. So we virtually had a 6-month run out. So we took advantage of all claims incurred in a 12-month period, and there was no lapse in coverage there. In the middle of that top is the fixed fees. So those are our Anthem administration fees, our PBA administration fees, our stop loss premiums on a per employee per month basis, and then our aggregate stop loss premium, which is an umbrella coverage, which limits the maximum exposure that the county can incur. In the next box, we've got the funding rates. So those are our single and family rates in total, all in total. So the county pays a portion and the employees pay a portion of that.
Excuse me, what is the aggregate cap?
Aggregate, it's 125% of expected. I don't know the exact number.
Okay.
But I would say it's rare that you see somebody hit that number, but when you start seeing a lot of utilization, I call it sleep at night insurance, because you never know what's coming.
It's an umbrella.
It's an umbrella coverage, yep. In the middle is the plan experience. So on the left-hand side is just a monthly tally. So we're gonna look at all the cost on a monthly basis. So next to the month is our fixed cost. Again, that's medical administration, and for discount and for our PPO and for our third-party administrator. Next to that is our stop loss premium, and that gives us a total fixed cost. So on the top there, it's about $129,000. Next to that, we have our variable cost. That's going to be medical claims in the first column, prescription drug claims in the second, and the reimbursements are going to be those stop loss claims over 50,000. So then we total up the total variable column as well. So we take total fixed plus total variable. That gives us total plan cost. We then look at the enrollment and multiply that times the funding rates based upon numbers in each column, and that gives us total plan monthly funding. And the next to that is the monthly loss ratio at 108.5%. So anything over 100 is not favorable. Below 100 is favorable. So if you go down to the corner, the bottom corner, we ended the year 2021 at 92.9, which is favorable. A lot of that came from reimbursements, and reimbursements are obviously those claims that are over that 50,000.
But insurance like to see that at 80%.
Insurance company, we'll talk about that, on another slide, but the insurance company is gonna look at it, and one of the reasons we did the stop loss analysis is that they wanna see 5 or under. And when you start to get more than 5 breaches of the stop loss, then you start to run the risk of them pushing more premium back to you. So that's why we're gonna look at that stop loss analysis to say, can we move it and just try to, minimize the cost of the county?
When you go with a plan like that, it's over 80%, that's cutting into the profits.
Insurance companies do not like that, you're exactly right. Just to finish this page, and the next one's it's the same page, but key indicators is just our average enrollment on employee, spouse, employee, child, and family. Next to that is just our plan cost. So you've got total plan cost at 4.9 million, our funding at that $5.3 difference. We had about a $378,000 surplus to the budget. And then the loss ratio of 92.9. Then next to that is just taking all of our fixed fees and showing what that looks like in a per employee per year, along with the variable cost on a per employee per year, and then giving you a total cost per employee per year at 19,677. I would say in our public sector, we're seeing that probably for school groups, probably closer to 23,000. County groups, I would say it's about 18 to 20. So you're kind of in the range that I'm seeing with the counties that I work with.
Is it age groups?
Pardon me?
Is it age groups that contribute to that?
In our instance, it's claims. Claims drive everything, right? We've got our fixed fees, which is pretty minimal. It's
a younger group versus an older group.
Well, I think if you're asking an actuary, they're gonna say older people are gonna have more claims, right? Just being an older person, I get that. But we're also, we have long-term employees. I mean, your average age, and we've talked about that in the executive committee, is 46 on an employee basis. I looked at Wood County and they're at 41. I think Taylor's at like 43. I think the only one that I have a higher employee is City West Dallas, and they're at 49. So this is just a year to date for 2021. Same plan parameters, same setup. I'll just show you in the bottom corner, 89.2. And again, we've received almost $400,000 of reimbursements. So we'll get some updated claims here probably in the next week or two, and this will update this report. But nothing earth-shattering as of yet, but we'll monitor this. And the reason I like this report is that we can see trends. We can see things that are occurring in time, at least when we receive them. And then we can have conversations with Jeff and Rachel about how can we impact that well in advance of the renewal. When you were fully insured, you basically waited till you got your renewal and had your fingers crossed. Here, we can dial it in pretty close, and we'll tell you where you're going to be, relatively quickly once we get everything in. Next page, this is a stop loss analysis that we did. So our current stop loss level is at that 50,000. Our 2022 premium is at that 1.678 million. Thank you. And what we did was we basically looked at, 2 options. What if we went from a 50 to a 75 and then a 50 to 100? So on top is the premium savings that you would get from HCC to move from 50 to 75 and then to 100. So 25% discount on 75, 45 on the 100. The annual stop loss premiums, if we're looking at what we currently have in place, would go down accordingly, 1.2 million and then 1.1 million. And then for that, we're going to take on a little bit more risk. In the 75, it's going to be, 25,000 per person over that 50,000. And then for 100 is 50. So we looked at kind of our claim risk and looked at some averages over the past year. And the additional risk, the amount the county would pay out in claims is at $391,000 for 75, and then $628,000 for 100,000. And below is the impact and making that deductible change. So to move from 50 to 75, there's a savings to the county of about 28,500. And then in the 100, it's gonna cost the county 40,000. So, and this is just something we did for the first 3 months of the year. We can update this as we go, but wanted to get this, at least in this committee's head, of where our mindset is going, that we're seeing some large claims. That's why we have health insurance. But at some point, that 50,000 probably isn't something we're gonna stay with. When I talk to underwriters, they think you should be at 125. Now, am I telling you to go to 125 today? No. If I'm going to do it, it's gonna be incremental, and we're gonna stage it, and we're gonna be very mindful of where we're going. But I think that, at 50, with the amount of activity that we're seeing, we're just gonna get more premium pushed to us, and we're probably gonna limit the carriers that are gonna come and attractively want our business.
Because I think last year we looked at 60 or 75 and we decided
Yeah,
to stay at 50. And, I personally don't think we need to go into closed session, because all we're gonna do is go into the weeds on some of the claims. And the reason we go into closed sessions is just in case somebody can connect the dots between the number there and the person. I'd rather not have us do that. What we're really doing here is basically informing the board that we got an issue with a lot of large claims, and we're gonna have to do something about it. And we're gonna have to increase that high claim deductible. I feel that between Tim and Rachel and Jeff, they can manage that, coming back to us with a suggestion, especially with more than just the first quarter data to work.
Absolutely, then we're not making any decisions in first quarter.
Right, we're not, because we'll just look at the stuff, and we're not gonna come out, we're not gonna make any decision anyway, so I think it's a little premature to go into closed session unless somebody out there wants to do that. All right, let's go to, we won't go into closed session, is that okay with everybody? All right, we'll talk about prescriptions.
Yeah, so, our job is to bring new ideas, new programs. You're self-funded. There's just so many things that you can do. So anything that we can help and impact claims, we're gonna bring that forward. We've got a couple of programs, actually 3 programs I wanted to just talk to you about, at least get in front of you and what's out there. These are programs that can be no or low cost to the member. So there's a company called RX and Go, and they've got 2 programs. They are a fulfillment center for prescription drugs. The RX and Go, the top one is generic prescriptions. And for our group here, we're a high deductible health plan. So for that, there's 800 generic medications that are covered at no cost share to the member. So that is a good thing. They give great pricing, and they give it direct pricing to the county. So it would be basically, members would switch their prescriptions from IngenioRx mail order, and they would have them fulfilled through RX and Go, who's got a fulfillment center in Cincinnati, Ohio. So that's one program. RX and Go Beyond is international sourcing of brand name prescriptions. So we've got medications in that preventative measure where people are taking a brand name drug, and those are things like asthma, COPD, diabetes, and they are sourcing those medications through Canada. And again, there's savings for that. So just another thing. And a lot of our private sector businesses have been doing this probably for the last 3 or 4 years. So it's just becoming very, I think, standard to at least look at it to see what the impact would be. The last one is OptiMed. It's one of the vendors that we've worked with. I'm sourcing a couple others, but I was able to get them to do a kind of a savings analysis for us. They specialize in specialty medication. So those are those high cost meds that you see on TV. And they're able to source coupon programs, manufacturer's assistance programs, and they can also source those high cost medications through Canada and deliver savings back to the member and to the county. Okay, so those are the 3 programs. If we go to the next page there, we're going to have the savings of each program. So the top one was that generic medication. In the analysis, the plan would pay $6,200 more. You're saying, wow, why would I wanna say, offer that up? The members say 73,000. So I know we're in a really tight labor market, and attract and retain is really important. And anytime we can increase benefits, sometimes the juice is worth the squeeze, as I would say, and it's an investment in the plan. So we wouldn't save money, but we'd pay a little bit more, but the members would save, that money out of their paycheck. Something to consider. Below on the RX and beyond, that is the maintenance medication that is brand in plan design, and then obviously that would be sourced through Canada. The plan would save about $5,300, and the members would save $22,000. And then lastly, on the OptiMed, again, that's the specialty medications that we see on TV. By taking advantage of manufacturer's assistance programs, co-pay plan programs, and then international sourcing, the county would save $209 or $209,000. So pretty big number. Members, again, low to no cost, so it's going to be variable for the member. But those are three types of prescription drug programs that we're looking at for, not only our public sector groups, but our private sector as well. So I'll pause there to see if there's any questions.
Anybody have any questions of Tim? Okay.
That is,
Eddie, you must have done a good job.
I guess so. I'll say one thing though, I haven't seen Maureen Boyle for 30 years. We went to high school together. I was sitting right next to her and she almost sat on me and I said, Maureen Boyle. Isn't that amazing? I was good friends with her brother, who was a judge in Racine County. And then I think her sister Meg is in Milwaukee. I used to spend all kinds of time at their lake house in Browns Lake. So, isn't that a small world?
Thanks, thank you, Tim.
So wait, could I ask you
Any
one?
questions?
Could I ask you one question?
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers referred to the lines in the packet. They were numbered 40-something to 40-something. And I was just wondering what, they said they were important. I know, but I lost everything on my screen.
Hit your button.
It wouldn't work. They just died.
Oh, you didn't have a charge.
Anyway, do you remember those numbers that maybe, could I ask Mr. Rogers?
40, it was 41 to 44, I think. Is that what you said?
41 to 44, okay.
That, you're awful close. It's in there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, yeah.
Anything else? Okay, at 8:37, we'll adjourn by unanimous consent. Thank you, everybody.
You are adjourned. If you want to